Catch it, please. I like balance. We need evangelist Jackie or good one over here. Just for balance sake. Are we good? Oh, okay, you know. I'm not sharing
If you would just leave your name and your city.
Would you like for each one to go ahead and give their name?
Exactly, yes.
And then, yes, all right. Got it. Hello and good morning. I'm Bishop Jerry Demmer. I am the president of One Accord Movement Ministry, as well as I am also the public relations vice president for the Greater Metro Denver Ministerial Alliance. And we are here today to talk about some of the things that concern us as clergy for this community. This clergy stands with community, things that take place in our community, and certainly there is concerns upon today. I'm going to allow the people that are standing with me, the ministers, to come up, and they're going to be able to introduce themselves to you, and then we will come right back.
Bishop Kevin Foreman, the pastor of Harvest Church right here in Denver, Colorado, as well as a member of the Greater Metro Denver Ministerial Alliance Executive Council. And we're excited today, unfortunately, amongst the news that we've received with the shooting at East High School and so many other things happening in our community. We see tragedy as an opportunity for there to be change. We see things that come in the form of disappointment as an opportunity for there to be great progress made in our community. So we're excited about that.
Pastor A.J. McDonald, assistant pastor at Old Memorial Church of God in Christ. Just here to expound on the fact that there's an African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. And certainly within that, we want to promote healthiness among our young people. And so we come together as a community. We're hurting. We're hurting as a community, and more importantly, our children are hurting. Our young people are hurting. Parents are hurting. And so as clergy, we've come together to see what we can do to collaborate with the legislatures and the leaders of the city to try to bring healing to the Mile High City.
Good morning. Superintendent Patrick Demmer. I am the pastor of the Graham Memorial Community Church of God in Christ, and I am a district superintendent of the jurisdiction of Colorado for the Church of God in Christ. I am here because I am extremely horrified and I am extremely saddened by the continuation of weapons that are being fired off and discharged, not only in our public schools, but even at the homes of some of our public elected officials.
My name is Pastor David Whitmore. I am associate pastor at the Heritage Christian Center in Aurora. I'm also have a paraministry called Ask the Pastors. I too am concerned about everything that's going on in our community, and I want to invite the community out tonight, right here at Absolute Word Church, as we lay on the altar, because we know prayer changes things, and we would like the community to come out and join us in agreement in prayer tonight, right here, 1201 Steel Street, Absolute Word Church.
Hello, I'm Elder Sharon Alexander Holt. I am a clergy here in the community, a native, as well as the executive director for the Greater Metro Denver Ministerial Alliance. I'm here because of my concern for our children. I'm a grandmother. Already we've had issues in some of the schools that my grandkids attended just this past week with lockdowns that they had for fear of some violence that potentially could be taking place. So East is a great concern, and it's also a concern because I'm a Denver native, and we have to put a stop to this now. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Evangelist Jacqueline Moore. I'm the chaplain for the Ministerial Alliance. I'm also a member of this great church, Absolute Word. And my concern is great. I had a granddaughter, I have nieces that were at East yesterday who are so divided about their education, and that should be our number one thought of what's going on in the community. We have kids now that don't want to go to school. We have kids that are in despair because of what's going on. It is time to stop. It is time for us to stand up as a community and say no more violence in our schools.
Thank you. We're going to kind of go through a couple of things that concern us, and I'm going to allow some of our leaders in this community to speak on them. One of the things we're really very concerned about, and we talked about gun violence, we're dealing with these ghost guns, bop guns, guns that you can assemble, put together, that you even allow people to buy guns, and they have felonies. And they buy guns and use them. But when you transfer students from one school to another, and you have to have them patted down every time they come into the facility, there's something wrong with that picture.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that. When we have our elected officials threatened because they stand against gun violence, because they said that this has to stop. Why do we need assault weapons? We're concerned assault weapons should be in Ukraine and not on our streets. So we're concerned about assault weapons. But some of the things that took place with one of our very own senators, Senator Rhonda Fields, maybe a lot of people are not aware of it, but I'm going to ask that Superintendent P.L. Denver come, and he has been speaking with her, and let's talk about some of the things that she just went through recently, Superintendent.
Very briefly, in my conversations with our very own Senator Rhonda Fields, she was horrified as a bullet shattered her window, went through the drapes, the curtains, went through a wall in the house, lodged in a back wall in her home. She said not only did it shatter her window, but it shattered her sense of peace and comfort and protection in her own home. I am appalled, just as I am appalled that we have children taking guns to school. I am also appalled that an elected official, a Colorado senator, would have a bullet go through her window. And the only thing that we're hearing from the Aurora police is the idea that it was a random bullet that just randomly went through her window. That's almost like saying it was a random bullet that assassinated President Kennedy, that assassinated Martin Luther King, a random bullet maybe that killed Malcolm X or Medgar Evers. The idea that it was random is offensive. And we are demanding that there be an audience with the mayor in Aurora. We are demanding that the police would put more of an emphasis on that situation, just as we are demanding that things would be done even right here in Denver County and with our schools. It's not random. Bullets are directed.
Thank you, Superintendent. I'm going to ask the Bishop Kevin Fulmer to come, and would you just discuss something about our concerns about our schools?
Again, Bishop Kevin Fulmer, pastor of our church on the Executive Council of the Greater Metro Denver Ministerial Alliance. We are obviously concerned and saddened about a situation that took place at East High School yesterday. We're saddened to hear that there was a loss of life. We are saddened to hear that individuals were, of course, struck with those bullets. We see that our schools are soft targets. And one of the things that is important to us as clergy in the community, especially in the height of this municipal election that we're in the the midst of, is that the mayoral candidates that are on the ballot, as well as the incumbent administration, take action to bring together both clergy, community, and those in civic leadership positions so we can address the issues that are happening in our schools. Our schools are obviously, no doubt, soft targets, and we want to ensure that our students are safe, that our students are secure, and that our students feel like they can get an education without the threat of violence. Of course, we know America has a problem with this, but we at the local level want to do what we can do to not just talk the talk, but to walk the walk, to see quantitative results in our schools. And so with that, we call upon all of those that are running for mayor in the city of Denver to present a plan that on day one would bring together both the community, clergy, as well as those in civic leadership roles to address these issues with practical steps of action to ensure that this situation, number one, doesn't happen again, and then number two, to ensure that this situation is addressed. We want to make sure that our students love going to their schools, and we believe in a strong, healthy public school system, and we believe that action can be taken. We call upon the incumbent administration to take swift action to find out how did this happen, stop it from happening, and put immediate steps in place for all of our Denver public schools to ensure that our students can go back with the feeling of safety and security to end this school year strong, but make sure that when they come back for the fall, that they are safe and they are secure with some very practical, common sense solutions that would help to ease the issue. Obviously, there are those that believe that you can go to the extreme on one side or the other, where you can do too much as it relates to school resource officers, metal detectors, etc. Then there are those on the other side that say that those things don't prevent violence. Here's what we do know. We do know that the presence of deterrence always brings about greater results. And so, as clergy in the community, we want to do what we can do to ensure that our schools are safe. And we call upon the incumbent administration and the incoming administration in the form of those that are currently candidates to not just issue press releases, but to come up with a comprehensive plan on day one to join with clergy that do not want to just stand by and let our city fall to the defeat of violence, or fall to the defeat of situations and scenarios in which we can take action to prevent that. So we're excited about the potential to work with an incoming administration and the incumbent administration to bring change to our community. We believe that while it may look dark now, we believe that this is going to be used for something bright to come.
Thank you, Bishop. We're going to ask that Pastor A.J. McDonald to come, and he's going to talk to us. He does a great work in the great city of Aurora with our young people. I'm asking that he would come and talk to us about concerns about our youth.
Thank you, Bishop Denver. Again, Pastor A.J. McDonald, the assistant pastor of the Memorial Church of God in Christ. And as I stand here with my comrades here in the gospel, I want to reach out to the community, everybody, that we as leaders, religious leaders, used to be when we were the cornerstone of the community. And so we want you to know that we are here today, parents that were affected by this violence on yesterday, and in particularly the young people that were affected by this on yesterday. We're here. We're here. I am a pastor, and so I believe and trust in God that He will come in and squash this prevailing presence of violence in our city. The Bible says in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and I'm not trying to preach to you, but I am a preacher. It says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to your own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. And I'm asking that we direct our paths to our youth, that we direct our paths to the leaders of our community. Let us earmark dollars for our young people, mental health, recreation centers, places that they can go and feel safe. Even in the schools, we're calling on that now. There's money to be had, and we're asking, we're demanding that you earmark money for our young people. Yes. Enough building, enough infrastructure. Let's look at the young people. They're hurting. I'm tired of looking at our young people, and there's hurt on their face. And looking at their parents, and they're despondent because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to talk to their kids. They need help. Well, I want you to know, family, mom, dad, grandma, uncle, aunt, whoever you are, the preachers are here, the pastors are here, the cornerstone of the community here in Colorado. We stand here to help.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Pastor. So many things that are going on, and we know that they're meeting with the Denver Public Schools, and they're discussing change that's getting ready to take place, whether that's SROs, or whether we're talking about metal detectors, whatever that is, they are discussing it. We want to open it up unto you for questions, any questions you might have for the clergy. We would like to open it up to you now.
So let's go that way. Let's go with the metal detectors, the SROs. Is that something that you would like to see in the school budget for next year?
I think without a doubt, and I think that Bishop Kevin Foreman really addressed that. I'm going to ask that he would come back and reiterate on how much is too much. They're saying that maybe it's too much, but how much is too much?
Well, I think it's never too much when you're talking about the protection and safety of our children. Come on. And it's never too much when you're talking about the protection and safety of our students. And so for us, it's important, our belief and our position at this point is that yes, in this upcoming budget and in the remaining term of the school year, we need to see school resource officers, not just in the school, but outside of the school. Officers that are well-trained to ensure that we do not see a disproportionate use of force against minority students, because that's one of the concerns that has happened in a variety of districts where you see a disproportionate use of force and abusive tactics towards minority children. So, one, we believe in school resource officers inside the school and outside of the school. Schools are soft targets, and so we want to harden these so that it's a deterrent to those. Also, we believe metal detectors are certainly appropriate. You go to a metal detector when you go to a football game, you go to a metal detector when you go to a basketball game. And so the reality is this is the time and day that we live in. So how much is too much? It's never too much if it's your child. It's never too much if it's your grandchild. It's never too much if it's your niece or nephew. So yes, we believe all of that's appropriate.
Okay, so one more question here. School officials are actually performing police work, right? Yesterday, they were performing a pat-down.
Yes.
They don't have those sort of certifications, right? I mean, would you like to see more than just one SRO, more than one police officer? Would you like to see school officials calling the police in to do these performances?
Great question. So we believe each school is going to be unique, and so each school is going to need to have a plan that is appropriate for that particular school. In that, for the reports that we've seen, yes, it was an individual that was interacting with a student that apparently, from what the reporting says, allegedly was already part of a discipline plan coming from a previous district. So there's some nuances to that. We believe that each school needs to be looked at and addressed so that you have an appropriate number of officers for the population of that particular school. And so for us, we don't think it's a one-size-fits-all. We have the infrastructure, the leadership, the resources, and the funding to make sure that each school, especially in DPS as we're talking, is appropriately outfitted with the appropriate number of officers. And staff should not be asked to teach and discipline and perform. Right. You cannot put that type of demand on our teachers and on our school administrators and expect them to be able to do that well. So with that, we would add not only addressing the violence side, but this is a great opportunity for us to reassess the funds in terms of compensation, pay, that we are dealing for our teachers, because at the end of the day, they're being asked to do a variety of things that do not fall within the purview of teaching.
You've been referring to schools as soft targets. Can you just expand on what you mean by that?
Sure. In most schools, you can walk up to the school and you're not greeted by anyone that is of any type of security apparatus until you are already in the school, until you have already come through the front door. So when we say soft target referring to schools, we're saying that there's nothing in most schools on the outside that helps to add to that deterrent. So by the time if someone desires to do violence, as we saw in a situation allegedly with East High School, this was a student, he was in the school, he was patted down, and obviously there's some nuances to that, but most times is that people are able to gain access to the school, gain access to the facility, and by that time it's too late. And so if you've got a presence on both the outside and inside of the school, it seems to be a common sense scenario that would help to act as a deterrent to not make schools as soft targets as they are.
You can't deny these kids their education, right? I mean, you can't deny them education.
Correct.
That's what's going to move them forward.
Correct.
Right? So what do you do with a disruptive child? What do you do with a kid that's, shown to be non-conforming?
Pastor McDonald. Well, there are certain apparatuses that are in place. You have individual education plans, you have safety plans for students that seem to be disruptive in schools. But I think we need to take it a step further. What we want to caution is that we don't want this to turn into a military state or a police state. We still want kids to feel comfortable. We don't want them to, come in and feel like they're under a watchful eye 24/7 and they just can't enjoy their school experience. However, when we look around the country and we see what happened in Uvalde, Texas, and all of these places, something has to be done. And I think our kids are intelligent enough to know that there's something that needs to be done. And so we want to make sure that their environment is a safe environment. Kids should not have to come into a school and watch somebody be patted down. Because for me, that raises a concern right there. How can I focus on my studies when I just watch one of my students or my friends or my classmates get patted down? So we need to have a seat at the table. We need to bring, again, the entire village together and talk about how can we do this and what's the most appropriate way to do this so that everyone is comfortable, parents are safe, and they're not at work wondering if my kid is going to come home. And so that's a question, it's a great question that still needs to be answered. And that's why we're here today, to try to collaborate, to try to just knock on the door and ring the bell and say, hey, let's do something now. Let's not continue to come up and have press conference after press conference. And then 6 months later, everything is quieted down. We've got to stay, we've got to turn the heat up on these mayoral candidates. We've got to turn the heat up on our legislators. We've got to turn the heat up all around this city and say, in the Mile High City, we will not tolerate this anymore. We're going to do something, and we're going to find money to fund these programs. It's got to happen. We've got to earmark this. And we just can't have candidates saying we're going to do A, B, C, and D, and then once they get in office, they forget all about us. So we are demanding that now.
Hello. I just want to just put emphasis on some of the things that we were taught, that first of all, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. We don't want to keep being reactive. We need to become proactive. So the plan has to come together. And I just want to harp again on It Takes a Village that Pastor McDonald talked about. We're calling on community. We're calling on the community to say, let's all get together. Let's all talk together. Let's all strategize together. Because the fact of the matter is it's affecting our homes. It's affecting our community. It's affecting our children. And so we're certainly putting out that mandate that we would all come together and let's figure this thing out together. As you might see on my wall, I'm not into it's a black thing, white thing, weird thing, brown thing. It's a people thing. And if it affects me, it's going to affect you. So we need to all come together in the community to make sure that we can solve this problem together.
Do you all feel it's a mistake for the school board to take SROs out of the schools?
Superintendent Denver, was it a mistake to take the SROs out?
You know, we've had the opportunity to actually speak with one of the school board members who led the march to remove the SROs. I did ask him, Mr. Anderson, would he reconsider last shooting, would he reconsider his position? And he actually said to me, no, he would not, because he felt like having the police presence and even to have things like metal detectors criminalize our children, especially our minority children. Nevertheless, I'm in a total disagreement with him. I think we have to face the fact, even as Bishop Foreman said, we do it. We have metal detectors. When we go to football games, basketball events, different social events. Unfortunately, we live in a time today where we have to use whatever technologies are in place and can be in place for our children to feel safe, for parents to be safe, teachers. I said to my congregation the other week, there's two jobs that I probably wouldn't want to have. One is a police officer, because they're asked to do way too much, and they're criticized the only time you talk about them when one of them makes a mistake and do something wrong. So I wouldn't want to be a police officer, and I wouldn't want to be working in the school systems. It's too dangerous. If the teachers are feeling, and the teachers at East refuse to go back, they're not going to go back to the classroom until they can feel safe. I can't blame them. I can't blame them. So we need police presence. If for no other reason, it becomes a deterrent.
How's he doing?
I'm doing okay. Number one, thank goodness they believe in God.
Sorry.
Number one is thank God that they believe in God and that we stand under His judgment, His righteousness. And when we stand firm on what you believe to be right, those that are out of order are eventually going to have to get in order, because we're standing here as one community. We're standing saying no more. We're standing and saying that we need more for our children than just education. We need safety. We need understanding. We need to, as a group, stop being divided in what is right for our children and do what the community needs for us to go forward. So I'm glad that I'm a woman of God, that I stand and believe that He's my safe protection, He's my wing, He's my guide. And in that, if we continue to be a voice, if we continue to say no more, that things will have to get in order, things will have to be done, because we believe that it does take a village. It takes everyone's voice right here saying no more. We need people to stand up. We need people to be accountable for what's going on. Quit pushing it under the rug and let it come to the surface that no more is what we're standing for. No more are you just going to put a Band-Aid on it and soothe us, because now we're saying we need more.
Thank you, Evangelist.
So if it's not metal detectors, if it's not SROs, is it more counseling within the school? Is it more people sitting in an office counseling the children, or what is it? What is it if it's not a physical infrastructure, what is it?
It takes all of us to work together. So when we're talking about community, the issues with our children, it takes all of it. We've had the opportunity to run schools, and we've had the opportunity to run second chance schools. And to talk about now, how do we solve problems with children if we don't talk to parents? So then we have to have things to set in place for the parents, for the children, for the whole household, for the community. That's one of the things that we do as clergymen. But not just clergymen, but legislators. We have to work together. We have to work together with the governors and the mayors, and we have to come together. It does take a village.
I would also just reiterate also, our stance today is not that we've got all the answers.
Right.
Our stance today is that when you get clergy, community, and our civic elected officials, when you get those three together, that you've got all the answers in the room. And so it's not an either or, it's a both and. It's an all of the above approach. What we're saying is that because that conversation has not been initiated, we're initiating that conversation. What we're saying is because we've not seen those resolutions come to pass, and now we see another tragedy in our community. What we're saying is let's initiate that conversation with the incumbent administration and those that are candidates, so that we can bring those three groups into the room, all of the above are the solutions, and then take immediate action. That's what our stance is.
I certainly want to just quickly address America and the land that I love, America. We've got to start worrying about what's going on in our own backyards. We're concerned about Ukraine. We're concerned about the tyranny and the things that are taking place in Ukraine. But if we can put $100 billion over to help Ukraine, then I think we need to talk about taking some of that money and helping America. America, we're the #1 crime nation in the world. There's no other country commits more crime than we do. Other countries are 10 times safer. Whether they are walking down the street or they go to a school, they are 10 times safer than it is in America. And so I think that we must put our mental tense and our focus on, first of all, charity begins at home and spreads abroad. We need to be concerned about our own backyard. We need to be concerned about the children of America.
This lastly, what do you tell parents? What do you tell kids?
Well, I love that question, and I'm certainly going to address it. I'm going to ask that Elder Sharon Alexander Hope also to come and address that with us, because not only is she the former president of the Urban League that deals with urban America, but again, we ran schools together. I think we talked about it right now when we say it takes all of us. It takes clarity, first of all, to say, evangelist said, have faith in God. trust in God. That's the first thing you need to do, is believe in God. The second thing you need to do is let's sit down and really assess the situation that's actually going on in your home. We can't address, and I think Bishop Kevin said it, we can't address everybody's house. So we need to start at what parent, what's going on in your home? Because what somebody else needs in their home is different than your home. So we sit the parents down and we need to talk to them about what's going on, and that could mean I need some things as far as social issues. That could be I need help financially. I need help with, job income. I need help because I'm a single parent and I work and I have nobody to be able to help me with my children or got a hand on my children. So let's sit down and assess with you what exactly is happening with you so we can make this change. It has to happen one by one. It ain't gonna just happen with everybody overnight. It has to happen one by one. And I think that's the thing we have to do. We've got to talk to them. We have to assess their needs as parents. Elder Sharon?
Thank you, Bishop. I was Sharon Alexander Holton, as Bishop said, I'm the former CEO of the Urban League of Metropolitan Denver, and constantly dealing with it at that time. Your question is right on time. My 7-year-old or my 10-year-old grandson had asked me yesterday, he's in a school in Aurora, I was picking them up from school. They got blasted with it on their laptops when it happened. There's fear. And his concern was, Nana, if he's loose, at large, can he get us? Is he coming after us? And it hurt my heart to hear that, because here we were at the time in Aurora, this happened in Denver, but we know when you're mobile and you don't know where the person is, anybody is at risk, and really school began to do lockdowns anyway. My older grandson was leaving school the other day, and I won't mention the school's name because they said it was a false alarm, but they were on lockdown right as he was exiting, just 2 days ago. So there obviously was concern of some things going on. We have to tell our kids, like I told my youngest grandson, you have to know that you're still safe. You have to know that the adults at the school are taking those precautions to make sure that they're providing an environment that's safe for you. And so you need to report things to the administration. Like the 2 deans that were there at the entrance to East, I understand from what they said, they took them into a private room and were patting them down. But it still was known that this was going on. My grandkids know of kids that bring knives to school. And so they need to speak up. This is not being discussed. This is very common. They're not alarmed by these weapons they're seeing. They're alarmed when the action begins to take place, with the execution of what they're doing. But we have to reassure them, because they're going to lose faith in the school system. And so we tell them right now, go to your administrator, go to your teacher, tell your parents what's going on. Parents, communicate to your kids what's going on. Unfortunately, at a young age, you have to inform them. And so I talked through to them. They said, well, why did he do this? What made him do that? There's mental health issues. There's a lot of our young people, we have adults, parents, are going through mental health issues. They're on the street, we see it every day. That's mental health issues. Not just panhandlers trying to make it happen, there are mental health issues as well. So again, as been stated by all these powerful men and women of God up here, we need money, we need infrastructures to create programs in place to deal with this and not ignore it and think we'll be okay. Metal detectors, like they said, programs that they can help them with dealing with the issue this young man had, and obviously there's mental issues to take his own life. He didn't kill, thank God, either one of these at the moment. There's one still, I believe, in critical issue, and the other staff member was released. But he took his own life. That's a mental issue problem there. And so these are kind of conversations we need to do to reassure our children, because otherwise they're going to want to stay at home and never go out the front door. And we can't have that. We need to have some kind of normalcy in their life growing up.
And I think that's important. As we're reaching the children, to reach that same message with the parents. We have a saying, each one reach one and teach one. We have a responsibility to take the time out with that parent, talk with that parent, pray with that parent, and help to walk that parent through whatever needs is going on. We must become personally involved.
Thank you.
Will this air tonight?
I think we have basketball, so ours is going to be early.
Okay, oh, yeah.
Right?
You got it.